We all need a little hope sometimes. And other times, we need a big hope built for bashing. My doot-doot of choice this time is the Hope Horn. Not only is it the best hunting horn in Monster Hunter Wilds Wiki as of this recording, it's the only hunting horn in the Monster Hunter Wilds Wiki as of this recording. This has been a wild time with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Well, no blood, no injuries during this sculpt, and sculpting isn't really a sweaty activity. But tears? Well, we'll get to that later. Having done a couple horns in the past, I have a size that I'm aiming for. I made the weapon stand that's in your room in Monster Hunter World, so I need to make sure that every doot-doot I make fits on it at least somewhat to scale. Like all horns, it's going to start with an armature and some foil. I used my drawing as a guide to get the right basic dimensions, and then added a layer of clay. And now, we have a pipe. Now that it's nicely covered in clay, let's beat it up. As you can imagine, a giant saxophone, probably made out of iron for the purpose of bashing monsters with musical accompaniment, is probably hammered into shape quite roughly. Using my little ball tool, I banged it all over to create the right texture. After a little while, I figured out a way to bounce it, which was actually really effective. Not only is it easier on the hands, but it made the marks a consistent strength, nothing too shallow or too deep. Now that we have a solid thing that's somewhere between a pipe and a sax, let's remove some of this foil. I may get carried away with details often, but even I know my limits, so we'll only make part of the bell hollow. To make it less pipe and more instrument, it's time to make keys. I rolled out a piece of clay and put some plastic wrap over it, then used my circle cutters. By putting the plastic wrap over before cutting, it makes a nice rounded edge. Once they were baked, I used my favorite sticky mix of clay and liquid Sculpey to stick them to the horn. Usually I eyeball things instead of measuring, but this time it was unavoidable. I had to make sure the rods lined up well with the keys. And here's where the first set of tears kicked in. It has been a long time since I soldered anything, and it showed.
You are the bane of my existence.
It took me so long to get this right. And don't worry, this is a fiberboard. It's extremely heat resistant and won't catch fire. I gave up on filming after this, but ta-da! Just a few bends, and this is starting to look like a proper instrument. I'm not going to attach the rods just yet, since it would be a pain to work around them for the rest of the sculpt. So it's time to work on something I've really been looking forward to. I love this little embossed leather bit on the side, and I've been brainstorming a way to make the sculpting a little easier and using paint to get the look I'm going for. I carved the designs instead of real embossing where the design is raised, since that was the best way for me to get the cleanest look. And then I'm going to paint the recesses with a light color and paint the top surface with a dark brown. Hopefully that will give it the illusion of this embossing. To get a sense of how all the leather pieces will fit together, I drew them on in pen, then rolled out a couple more clay hides and stuck them on. Once they were on, I could cut them to the right shapes and add detailing. I always see these wonderful crafters on YouTube with gorgeous backgrounds and beautifully curated art supplies, and I absolutely love them. Looking around, maybe my vibe is comfortable chaos? I guess if you're an organized person, this might not be so comfortable. Let me know how you describe it. So this is a little bit of a wild card. 2-part silicone putty. Am I making a mold? No! I figured out this trick when I made my behemoth. It was hard to find a position to bake where something wasn't getting squished, so I make a little stand out of silicone to make sure it stays upright in the oven and doesn't squash the details under its own weight. Looking at the shape though, it looks like I made him a medical donut cushion to sit on. And here's where things went as cursed as the Hope Diamond. Not with the sculpting, but with my footage. For some reason, a whole bunch of files got corrupted. I went searching around for anything that could help me save them.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
But alas, it's all gone. So, what did you miss? Honestly, mostly buckles. Lots and lots of buckles. And a couple keys. So let's just do a mini tutorial all about buckles. These are slide buckles, so the basic shape is really simple. Just roll out an even thickness of clay and slice strips for your straps. Put the strap wherever you want it. Take another slice the same width and cut the ends to make them pointy. Then take some kind of straight tool, I'm using my flat chisel, and squish 2 lines into your pointy strap. Next, roll out a skinny snake the same thickness as the lines you just made. Put the snakes in the lines and use your straight tool to shape it. Cut off the end of the strap right behind your buckle and place it on your strap. Ta-da! A quick slide buckle! Now just imagine this a few more times and we're mostly caught up to the working footage. The footage picks up again at super glue time. It's time to glue in these rods so our hunter can actually make a melody. And we're finally at the end of the sculpt. Thanks for hanging in there. And now to make it pretty. A few years ago, I discovered that chalkboard paint makes an amazing base if you need a black base, and I haven't gone back since. It's super matte, super opaque, and when it dries there's a bit of tooth because it's supposed to be chalkboard, and that makes the next layer go on so nicely. This is also my original bottle of it, so one jar goes a very long way. Super cost effective. But who would I be if I didn't have at least one new art supply in each project? This time, I'm playing around with Vallejo paints. The set I bought has one brown, which is a nice one, but I'm going to need a lot of variety if I don't want this horn to be clothed in boring. With these three colors, I was able to mix up a couple different kinds of browns. They're all very similar, but my hope is that the end result will look like the leather was from a few different dye batches, but there was an attempt made to match them. There are a few exceptions, of course. This top flap is a gorgeous chocolate brown, the straps are slightly milkier but still dark chocolate brown, and the thick bit around the bell would be considered chocolate red according to Abraham Werner's 1821 nomenclature of colors. 3 guesses what I'm craving right now. To add more texture and weather them, I mixed up some much lighter browns and sponged them all over, then dry brushed the edges. Off camera, I watered down the darker browns to almost nothing and glazed the leather. By doing that, it kind of unifies the base and the sponging and makes it look a lot more natural. To break up the symphony of browns, let's do these cool blue-green accents. I mixed up 2 colors until I got an oceany kind of turquoise. I think I'm sold on the paints. Look how opaque that is, and how smoothly it goes on. Even the off-white I mixed up goes on so well. One coat wonder right here, even over the dark chocolate leather. Originally, I thought I'd just do the embossed details here the same way as the other panel, but honestly, it was too small. So I just took the light brown and painted on the details. They're still really small though. Maybe I need an even smaller brush. I had based the buttons in the dark silver earlier, and now I'm going over the top with a bright gold so we get a sort of tarnished gold-plated button. Realistically, they're probably just brass, but realistically, you shouldn't be bonking things with a human-sized saxophone either, so... They look like leather, but we have some embroidery floss left over from the Trickster project, so we're going to use that as the cord and just paint them brown. Since I strung the beads about 10 centimeters from my nose, I don't have footage of that, but ta-da!
Perfection!
And with that, our hope horn is ready for its performance.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, mother. Up. 1, 2, 3.
Were you afraid I was going to end the video with no saxaboom? Never! Hopefully you found this build interesting. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and if you want to check out my other 2 doot doots, I have a playlist right here. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one!